この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
Oh.
Welcome to Sushi Bites! On April 3rd of this year, 2021, the Kamen Rider franchise will be 50 years old. As we're a species fond of pointless anniversaries, I thought it might be a great time to cover some Kamen Rider games. I promise it isn't just for relevancy clicks, though that's certainly a good reason to talk about Kamen Rider, wouldn't you think? Even if you don't know exactly what Kamen Rider is, there's no doubt you've seen Kamen Rider somewhere. Plastered on TV, merchandise, video games, everywhere. Starting in 1971, this live-action television franchise has never truly been off the air. It's always on in some form. A masked motorcycle rider who fights enemies and dispenses justice like Pez sweets. Which, he's actually been one of those too. It really shouldn't surprise you that Kamen Rider has had video games for as long as video games have been a thing. Bandai Namco continue to produce the official Kamen Rider toys, and this extends to video game publishing rights as well. With 30 years worth of video games based on the property, we have a lot to choose from. Naturally, I decided to choose Kamen Rider Battride War for this episode. If you know me even remotely well, you know I have a love for all things Muso, aka Dynasty Warriors. While there has never been an official Koei Tecmo or a Mega Force Kamen Rider game, the incredible developers at Eighting brought us the next best thing: knock off Muso. Battride War, Battride War 2, and Battride War Genesis are what happens when you apply the Dynasty Warriors formula to Kamen Rider. 3 fantastic games, each one an improvement on the last. We should be taking a look at Battride War and its sequel on this episode of Sushi Bites. Both games are very competent Muso-likes, and are highly enjoyable and still fully playable despite the language barrier. Because of the Japanese language voiceover and text, you might not always know what's going on, but you'll never be lost, as there's always a marker to follow or an on-screen instruction. Oh, and it probably helps to have this briefly explained, so fans tend to separate Kamen Rider into the eras in which it aired, which is why we might refer to certain riders as being from particular eras. In modern Japan, an era is observed when the process of selecting a new emperor begins, usually upon the previous emperor's recorded death. Each era receives an official name, and Kamen Rider has existed within 3 separate eras so far: the Showa, Heisei, and Reiwa eras. Battride War was released on May 23rd, 2013 in Japan, exclusively on PlayStation 3. In this game, all of the Kamen Rider heroes of the Heisei era, up to the point of the game's release, have been brainwashed and forced to fight against each other. However, Kamen Rider Wizard is somehow immune to this magical brainwashing by being something of a wizard himself, and with the help of a mysterious pixie-like entity named Canaria, Wizard endeavors to free the other riders from their predicament. It is revealed that the mysterious Callus, formerly of Foundation X, is behind the brainwashing. Foundation X are a recurring financial conglomerate in the Kamen Rider series, who are often providing support to the villains. They also show up in Memory of Heroes, where the whole game took place in a city owned by them. The main content of the game is served in the Chronicle mode, which is made up of missions that tell an original story. To begin with, missions are focused around freeing each of the riders from their brainwashing. Once you free a rider, you also unlock them, and can choose to play as them in free mission mode, or in certain Chronicle missions. Because the difficulty level isn't particularly high for any of the missions, it doesn't really matter all that much who you choose. There's no punishment for sticking to one rider who you particularly prefer most of the time. In my case, Kamen Rider Double, who has several forms to play as, and of course, Extreme Maximum Drive!
Extreme Maximum Drive!
All of the riders seem pretty well decked out with their moves and features. Battride War really aims for authenticity, which comes as standard with A-Team's Kamen Rider games. There's a sizable cast of riders in this game alone, 19 playable riders in total, each with their forms and abilities stripped straight out of the TV show. It's not just a copy and paste job, as there is attention to detail from their voice lines, dialogue and animations, right down to their level end transitions.
卒業生代表仮面ライダーフォーゼ如月源太
You only get one rider to start with, and the rest must be unlocked. To quickly run through them for Kamen Rider fans in alphabetical order: Axel, Agito, Beast, Birth, Blade, Decade, Den-O, Faiz, Forz, Hibiki, Kabuto, Kiva, Kuuga, Meteor, Oz, Ryuki, Double, Double Fang Joker, and of course, Wizard, who you start off with. Each character is unlocked by beating an associated mission, usually an awakening mission. Either way, once you have made your way through Chronicle mode, you'll have unlocked everyone. Most missions play out as follows: wiping out an area of enemies in order to take control of that area, defending or destroying floating sand timers or enemy spawners, defeating bosses, or racing somewhere as fast as possible on your motorcycle. Stages don't typically consist of one goal, but will instead be made up of many instances of these goals, strung together one after another. It does, at times, feel like a Dynasty Warriors game, but it moves a little faster in the sense that you're always dashing somewhere. Maps get stale after a while. There's like, let's see, I'll try to name and count them. We've got the mine area, docks area, city area, snowy area, forest area, high school area, sewer area, and moonbase area. 8 areas, and only a few missions have you visiting multiple areas. It could do with a bit more variety in that department, as once you know the layout of the maps, it does feel like you're playing missions that were just run through a random mission generator. Combat is straight up excellent. Your attacks are more weighty, and you have to factor in the time it takes to land a decent special move, which makes it more involved than just mashing a couple of buttons. You've got your standard attacks on square, and special attacks on triangle and circle. Each character has a combo list that fills out as you level them up. One-on-one fights are mechanically fluid, with a lock-on, allowing you to strafe around your opponent and perform evasive maneuvers. It feels good going to town on an enemy once you've figured out their various attack patterns. When their health is depleted, hit them with a triangle and circle attack to finish them off. Each mission you complete nets your chosen rider some experience points, which goes towards leveling them up. Also, there are special points earned through gameplay which you can spend on figurines. Not only can you peruse these figurines in a gallery, but also equip them to your chosen rider to enhance their abilities. You can get up to 3 slots to equip these by leveling up each rider. and leveling up your rider also dictates the highest rating of figurine you can equip. If you wanted to put countless hours into the game, it does give you plenty of things to work towards. None of which is really all that necessary, but it's certainly nice to have extra stuff available if you just want a pick up and play Dynasty Warriors type experience, but with a Kamen Rider skin. The game doesn't inundate you with hundreds of missions like Koei Tecmo's Warriors games do. It's a Muso-like that goes down smooth, and sometimes that's all you want. Battride War came in two flavors, Standard and Premium TV Selection. The only difference is that the Premium Edition comes loaded with licensed Kamen Rider songs, at an increased initial cost. The two versions are almost identical, and you don't miss out on any gameplay content if you go for the Standard Edition. Whereas I would recommend the Premium TV Selection, as you can turn off the licensed music if you prefer, the edition still goes for a higher price even on the second-hand collecting scene. So I'd say you might as well go Standard, unless you want the marginally more complete experience. You can swap out the game music for any custom music on your PS3 hard drive if it's in one of the myriad of supported formats, so there's nothing stopping you putting the licensed music back in that way. Once you complete the Chronicle mode of Battride War, there isn't much tethering you to the game, besides playing Rider Road to unlock some of the rarer figures. You can take a look at your stats, but that's about all there is available. It would only be just over a year after Battride War's release that a sequel would come along, boasting more playable characters, including those from Kamen Rider Gaijin, which was new at the time. Would I recommend skipping Battride War for the sequel? If you're a collector, then no, absolutely get both. But if you just want a title to sink your teeth into, you can skip the first installment, as most of the game's content was recycled into Battride War 2, alongside the bountiful amount of new stuff. As far as sequels go, Battride War 2 does what every great sequel to a good game needs to do. It doubles down on the stuff that worked and makes improvements all around. It was released on PlayStation 3 and Nintendo Wii U on June 26, 2014, and back in the day I played through the game on Wii U because the console desperately needed games at the time. I recently restarted the game on PlayStation 3 in preparation for making this video, and it reminded me just how much of a step up it really is from the first already perfectly playable Battride War. This game adds two characters from the fresh Kamen Rider Gaijin series to the roster, and playable in one mission only is the real-life historical figure Tokugawa Yoshimune, who appeared in the Kamen Rider O's movie. Content from the movies. Of course. That's Battride War 2's defining feature. The game is based on the Kamen Rider movies this time around, with missions and scenes that directly ape from those films. In the game's original story mode, a mysterious person named Cinema, seriously, has the riders relive their big screen experiences over and over to help a young brother and sister recover their memories. But Cinema's real motives are a mystery. The game also features the historic villain King Dark, whose comically oversized form leads to a clumsy boss battle atop a giant cliff. Once again, the game was made available in one of two editions: the Premium TV and Movie Sound Edition, and the Standard Edition. The only change, besides a slightly different title screen, is the inclusion of licensed songs. If you're looking to play through this game and don't care about the added cost of the Premium Edition, you might as well skip it for the Standard Edition instead. Both are the full gameplay experience, it's just the Premium Edition has more music. Gameplay mechanics have been improved. The motorcycle controls have been marginally improved, but that's just your A to B transportation. The real improvements come in the combat department, where the battling has received an entirely necessary overhaul. Whereas before you would have to defeat a boss character with a triangle and circle special, now any special move will finish them off. Getting rid of some of that clunk jank when fighting one-on-one. Characters can still transform with a full special bar, but can also transform again into their ultimate form once it's been unlocked. Wailing on enemies in your ultimate form is always an absolute joy. The new partner system does introduce a tiring amount of grinding to be done if you want to see the best results, but it does feel great to have a partner character on hand to call in to keep a combo going. Most special moves are still slow and precise, so calling in someone to keep enemies off your back comes in very handy. Each character has undergone an overhaul of some kind, with each of the returning characters given their special forms introduced in their various movie iterations. All of the game's previous maps return, alongside some new areas. There is a mansion with an underground laboratory, feudal Japanese castle grounds, and a feudal Japanese town too. The maps from the first game do feel like they've been directly pulled from the title. I've already ran through those maps a lot, and know them pretty well by this point. I'm fairly certain no changes have been made to them from a gameplay perspective, and it probably goes without saying, but much of the first game's goals and gameplay objectives are directly reused. So while the combat has had a huge overhaul, the majority of gameplay mechanics remain the same. The main story mode has you selecting movie tickets in the theatre, with each movie ticket representing a mission. If the ticket is emblazoned with movie poster art, it's a final battle mission, and these are really neat. These missions have choreographed cutscenes and sometimes a unique boss or a powered up form at your fingertips. If there's any one reason to play through the story mode, other than to unlock the other riders, it's to see these glorious fan service filled cutscenes. Even if you know nothing about Kamen Rider, the sheer cheesiness should have you smiling from ear to ear like the Kuchisake owner. There's something similar to the Rider Road mode from the first game, which from my understanding might be the only way to get the figurines this time. You play through a set of stages, and you can choose which ones strike your fancy, with each stage netting you a random crate reward. Upon completing the set, the crates are opened, and the figures you get in the crates can now be purchased with the in-game points. If anything, this just adds an extra unnecessary grind step, but I suppose it's one way to get some extra mileage out of the game. It's a much more feature-complete game than its already brilliant predecessor, and if you are looking to get just one of these PS3 titles, I would certainly point you towards this entry. But it might also be difficult to see just how much of an improvement over the first game this entry is if you haven't played the original. So in an ideal world where time and money are no object, I'd honestly recommend playing through the both of them. We may never see an official Koei Tecmo and Bandai Namco co-produced Kamen Rider Musou. So this is the next best thing.
Kamen Rider Battride War 創世
Oh, and this is Battride War Genesis. It was released simultaneously for the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita on February 25th, 2016. The 2-year leap meant that there were 2 new series they could incorporate into the game: Kamen Rider Drive and Kamen Rider Ghost. The game also features a whole load of classic Showa-era riders, including the original Kamen Rider Takeshi Hongo himself. Battride War Genesis has you play through the origin stories of each of the riders, which should prove to be a great introduction to each rider and their associated series. and I look forward to giving it a thorough playthrough. But that won't be on this emulated PlayStation 3 version. I'm actually waiting on a PlayStation 4 copy of Battride War Genesis, which is on its way to me via the wonderful folks at Solaris Japan. When it arrives, I'm looking forward to playing through the game in its entirety, before revisiting the series for a follow-up episode discussing the third entry, right here on Sushi Bites. It's sad to say, but since Battride War Genesis, there hasn't been another Battride War title. It's no surprise really that Kamen Rider has captured the imaginations of the Japanese for 50 years, and continues to be super popular. I'm hoping this anniversary might be the driving force in bringing Kamen Rider to the West properly. Attempts were made with Masked Rider and Dragon Knight, but I'm not interested in East to West adaptations. I want translated DVDs, Blu-rays, or on-demand streaming of this beloved franchise and its 31 series. Is that too much to ask? I'd throw my money at a streaming service that could bring me all of them in the highest possible quality, subtitled and ready to watch. What's your excuse, Toei? Get it done. But until then, a man can only dream. This has been Sushi Bites. Thanks for watching.